Hello, and welcome back to the RichMind Podcast. Hey, have you ever wondered why you're not necessarily achieving the things you would desire in life, whether it's a financial goal, whether it's a relationship goal, whether it's a health goal? Well, today I want to share with you some things that I've discovered in my journey that might possibly be the ticket that's going to help you bridge that gap from where you are now to this dream life in the future, which is what I try to do here on the Rich Mind Podcast. So I'm super glad that you're here. And without further ado, let's jump into the episode. Are you looking for true personal freedom? The freedom to design a life you truly desire? Then you're absolutely in the right place. True personal freedom comes from when you take 100% responsibility and control of your money and your mind. Here you're going to learn ideas, tips, and wisdom that's going to help you bridge the gap from where you are now to your dream life in the future. My name is Randy Wilson, and welcome to the Rich Mind Podcast. All right, thanks for joining me. So today, I want to share with you a couple of ideas. These are some things that I've been thinking about over the last few weeks, few months, some of the things I've been working on personally, some ideas that I think could possibly help you maybe navigate some of the challenges that are going on in the world today, and then obviously offer you some encouragement moving forward as you leave this episode and as you move on with your life today. So the idea I want to share is that the word change. So I think that we all have this feeling comes up when we hear the word change. So some of you today are going to hear what I have to say about this, and it might resonate with you a lot. You might totally agree with what I'm saying. Some of you, it might totally go against who you are, what you believe. You might think that I'm crazy. So the point is that each one of us have our own opinions. We have our own belief systems. We have our own ideas. But the idea and the thing that I want to share with you today is that if you can embrace the idea of change as a positive thing, to look for change instead of being afraid of change, you could actually be well on your way then to take different actions, to get different results, to see different outcomes in your life. And that's exactly what I did in my life. So let me just go back a little bit about my story and how I've come to understand and try to believe and implement these ideas in my life. So I was brought up here in the Midwest. I'm born and raised in Indiana, and we are, I would say, filled with ideas, beliefs from a young age as far as who we are, who we're supposed to be. Those come from our parents. Those come from our school systems. Those come from different organizations. The list is many. But the idea is that we are raised to believe in a certain way. So for myself, I'm speaking just about me at this point. The idea that I needed to go to school, that I needed to be good in school, that I needed to go get a job, I needed to work for the same company for multiple years, that I needed to contribute to my 401k so that at some point I could retire. All of those, to me, it almost seems like it's almost normal conversation. I hear a lot of the things when I talk to my family and friends in the environment. I mean, it's like we all are fed the similar and same things. And what I've tried to do and what I realized when I stepped out of that box, let's call it a box, right? We're stuck in this box and we're told exactly what we do and what we should do, how we should show up, where we should go, how we should be, is that I think that we get down a little bit further in our life and we realize that this can't be it. This isn't the only way to live our life. And what I discovered, and my discovery came from an abrupt change, meaning the company that I was working for, that I had dedicated my life up until to that point, completely blindsided me with the idea that I was going to have to, or they were going to close my store. I was a retail store manager. And as I mentioned, I had given my entire life to this company. I sacrificed time, my energy, my family, my own personal well-being. I sacrificed a lot for this company to propel in this position that I thought I desired, because that is really how I was brought up to be, is to believe that that was the way to be. But with this change that was abruptly put upon me, I realized that I was not in control. And I realized that I was not going to be the one making the decisions if I stayed in that place where I was. So I began to investigate, began to try to figure out where I was going to go, how I was going to get there. And I started to go down the rabbit trails of through books and through audio programs. And I started to discover new things. I discovered that the box that I was placed in wasn't necessarily the only box that we can be in, that there are many, many, many different ways to live, different ways to be. There's so many opportunities out there that if you're stuck in your box, and I was completely, you're not going to be able to see anything that's going on the outside. And sometimes it's fear that keeps us from looking outside of that self-imposed box, right? Those self-imposed limitations. But what I would encourage you to do is the idea where I circle back to is with change. So here's what I've discovered as I've gone down this journey over the last almost half my life at this point, and hopefully this will help you move forward as well. So when I had that abrupt change, my life was completely disrupted. It was basically in total chaos. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how I was going to be every day. And so it created a lot of anxiety in my life, right? I was a little depressed, I would say. I didn't know exactly who I was. And so I want to encourage you today to discover who you are. Who do you want to be? What is it you want to do? So it's the being first, right? You need to focus on who do you want to be. Now, to do that, it's going to require you to possibly do a lot of changing in your life. You might have to change some of your associations. You might have to change some of the content that you're putting into your mind, in your head, and through your listening or watching, right? You might have to change your environment. You might have to leave a current place of employment. You might need to leave your current, where you're living currently, right? So the change is inevitable. And so if you embrace the change as an opportunity to start over, that's where I want to leave this with you today. If you embrace it as an opportunity to start over, to become something different. Every time I've changed an environment, a place that I've worked, a thing that I've done, I've always grown out of that experience. Is it uncomfortable? Of course it's uncomfortable because it's something that we're not aware of, right? Most of us, and I fall into that category as well. As far as routine, we get into our routine, we get up, we shower, shave, eat breakfast, don't eat breakfast, jump in the car, go to work, come home from work, do what we do when we get home, go to bed, rinse and repeat. And my encouragement is to think about it a little bit differently, to think about the change and what you can become out of that change. What are the things that you need to be? So, for example, starting this podcast, I had the idea for this podcast years ago, and I put it on the back burner. I kept, putting it off, thinking that I wasn't ready, thinking that I couldn't do it, thinking that no one would show up, thinking that what do I have to say that would be of any value to anybody out there in the world, right? Whether it's in my own circle or even, so when I broadcast this podcast, it literally goes everywhere that the internet is, right? So it can literally touch anybody that has an internet access all over the world. So who am I to do those things? But what I will tell you is that as I've stepped into the embracing of change and understanding that being uncomfortable, taking that challenge, being in the change is exactly what's going to grow me into the person that I want to become, who I want to be. So I will tell you that having started this podcast, even just a few short months ago, I love doing this. I absolutely enjoy the creativity. So I would consider myself a creative person. I'm not necessarily great in school. I never was great in school. I would consider myself a very bad reader. I don't read well. I've never been clinically diagnosed with any type of disorder, but at the same time, I know for a fact, I don't get enjoyment out of reading, but I can listen to audios all the time. I love drawing. I love being creative. Hit record on this episode today is I would consider it very simple for me. Do I have to pause and stop, and do I stutter and stammer sometimes? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, that's part of the process. That's part of the change. I've gone through a couple of iterations in this episode, or not even this episode, but in this podcast since I've launched it. I've pivoted a couple times. That's the word I like to use, is the word pivot. So you're going to be making changes. I'm about ready to pivot again in this podcast, meaning the way I produce it, the content that I want to deliver. I embracing the change, knowing that the change is going to help me become the person I need to become that makes me happy, right? I get up every day and I'm not upset. I don't have anxiety. I don't worry about things that are outside of my control. I focus on what I can control, and that is me. And that's it. It's simply it. So it's taking control of your mind and your thoughts and your ideas. So today I want to challenge you to think about change. What are some things that you can change in whether it's your environment, whether it's your position at work? I've left many multiple jobs. I've started many multiple small little businesses here out of the house. As I mentioned, launching this podcast, I've changed this podcast multiple times, and I'm about ready to do it again. My wife has had to learn this idea, right? So when I was helping her, when I was just kind of discovering this on my own, there were times that she was in a position working at an employment, right, where she wasn't happy. And to me, that's the first sign that you're in the wrong place. If you're not happy, if you are upset or not looking forward, I'm not saying you have to be giddy, excited to go to work every day, but if you have just complete anxiety from head to toe, thinking about going to work, that's a clue, and you need to listen to that clue. So that's what I helped my wife do. She was in a position or in a situation where she was just not happy whatsoever with what she was doing. And so I had to help her and encourage her to make the change. Now that she's made that change, she's stepping into more, becoming more, to the point where now she's just getting ready to step into an opportunity that is exactly what she's been hoping for, wishing for since we were kids, since when we met back when we were in our 20s. And it's super exciting. But had she not embraced those changes in the future, she'd still be at the same place she was, let's call it 10 years ago. Had she not been willing to step into that change and that discomfort, she would not have been able to be in the position to become the woman that she needs to be to step into this new position that she is just now taking, that I know she's going to absolutely love. She's going to absolutely thrive. And that is, once again, the encouragement that I want to leave with you today. Embrace the change. Change is good. You're going to grow, and look at it as a positive versus looking at it as a negative. Get outside your comfort zone. Get outside your routine. You can do it. You don't have to do an abrupt change. As I mentioned, I had an abrupt change that totally threw off my entire world. You don't have to do that. You can start today and start thinking about, what is it that I want to do? Who do I want to be? What is it that I truly want? I struggle with that question every single day. What is it that I truly want? You want? What do you want? Not what somebody else wants for you. Don't fall into that trap. And I used to, and I still do at times, right? When you think about what others want you to believe or have for yourself, when it may not be who and what you want to be. So don't fall into that trap. Don't let people tell you what you should do, what you want to do. What is it that lights a fire inside of you? And as I've mentioned, right now, creating this podcast, being here with you, trying to offer some value into the marketplace, who knows where that's going to be? But the point is that I embrace the change, and when the change comes, I just know that I'm going to be able to become more at the end of the experience. So hopefully you found value in this episode. The idea is that I just want more for you. As I'm discovering things in my life, I want to share them with you. I try to share them with as many people as I possibly can. So I truly appreciate you showing up. If you've gotten to this far into the podcast, just know that I am truly grateful for you. And I hope that you can take some of the messages that I'm sharing here on the podcast, implement them into your life, and really start creating that change that can really get you to the life that you truly desire, because it truly is possible. It really, truly is. And it starts with one step. And that one step could be the idea that hopefully I can plant in your mind that can obviously germinate into some more positive things as a result. So go out there. As always, have a fantastic day, and I look forward to coming back to you with another episode very soon. Until then, bye now. Thank you for joining me on the RichMind Podcast. I hope you found a ton of value in this episode. If so, I'd really appreciate a 5-star review, and you can also share it with your family and friends. And as my mentor Jim Rohn shared with me, in order to have more, you must first become more. And in order to become more, you must work harder on yourself than you do on your job. So go out there today and work harder on yourself to become more and build the life of your dreams. Until next time, my friends.